One of the Nigerian major newspapers, Punch, recently published an editorial that contained a blood libel against a major Nigerian ethnic group, the Igbos. As a background, Igbos of eastern Nigeria number around 40 million people, about the same population as Canada, and were amongst the three regions that negotiated to form Nigeria in 1960. This short video is a brief rebuttal to the falsehood in a recent Punch newspaper editorial, in order to set the record straight for the less informed viewers. Let's dive right in. In its the 21st of February 2024 editorial titled, "Dissuading Fears Over State Police," the newspaper claimed in paragraph 4, "Policing in Nigeria witnessed its first schism after the January 15, 1966, coup by the military toppled the civilians. The usurpers turned Nigeria into a unitary state and centralized and destroyed the regional policing system the British colonialists bequeathed to Nigeria." Although Nigeria returned to civil rule in 1979 briefly before the Fourth Republic commenced in 1999, the civil political class has failed to reintroduce state police. There is no better time than now. I will reread the highlighted portion for emphasis. Policing in Nigeria witnessed its first schism after the January 15, 1966, coup by the military toppled the civilians. The usurpers turned Nigeria into a unitary state and centralized and destroyed the regional policing system the British colonialists bequeathed to Nigeria. Anybody remotely familiar with Nigerian history or the tragic January 15, 1966 coup in Nigeria will be jolted by the notion that those who plotted the coup and senior officers who suppressed the same coup are the usurpers, who turned Nigeria into a unitary state and centralized and destroyed the regional policing system, are one and the same people, as the newspaper wants you to believe. Short answer, no, they are not. The January 15, 1966 coup was organized by some junior-rank army officers, who later came to be known as the Five Majors. They include Emmanuel Ifeanyi, Chukwuma Nziogwu, Timothy Onwatwegwu, Chris Anuforo, Don Okafor, and Adewale Ademoyega. 4 of these officers were Igbos with 1 Yoruba officer. The coup ultimately failed because the senior army officers, led by General Ironsi, were able to retake control within a few hours, and coup plotters were arrested subsequently. However, the Prime Minister and many senior civilian politicians have been assassinated, creating a vacuum in government. The senior army officers had to decide what to do with the plotters and whether or not to accept the invitation by the leader of the Nigerian Senate to form a military government in order to maintain order. None of the 2 decisions were easy given the popularity of the coup amongst Nigerians at the time. Nigerians hated the corrupt politicians that achieved independence, and nowhere else in Nigeria was the coup more popular than in the majority Yoruba region of western Nigeria. Violence had engulfed the whole region, and people were under a permanent state of emergency due to violence amongst politicians there, and the army coup was seen as a liberation. The Nigerian press at the time celebrated the coup with one of Nigerian best-known newspaper columnists, Peter Pan Enahoro, praising the coup plotters for clearing the Augean stable. General Ironsi took over power and abolished the unitary system while the coup plotters rot in prison. Not one book out of hundreds written so far on the January 1966 coup and the Civil War had ever claimed that senior army officers were involved in the coup. This begs the question on why a major newspaper in Nigeria decided to lump together the junior officers who carried out the 1966 coup and the senior officers who suppressed them. And why does it matter? As a consumer of Nigerian media, this doesn't come as a surprise. Nigerian media reflect the often tribal-based political bias of its owners, and this is always evident in how stories are covered. The event of January 1966 took a darker turn when a counter-coup in July 1967 killed General Ironsi, who was also Igbo, and set out a series of pogroms against the Igbos. Thousands of Igbo civilians were killed across Nigeria, culminating in a civil war that killed an estimated 2 million more. Igbos lost the Nigerian Civil War, and since then have had to settle for a second fiddle in Nigerian politics. One of the ways Igbos are kept in their place is to continually blame them for collective guilt over the January 1966 coup. Same way the Jews were persecuted for centuries over the death of Jesus Christ. So it is no surprise to see Punch newspaper lump together both the coup plotters and those coup suppressors as one and the same persons and label them both as usurpers. There is no debate that the five majors had anything to do with Iran's unitary decree of 1966. The said Punch editorial was deliberately misleading and aimed to perpetuate a group disadvantage. Igbos have been excluded from power in Nigeria since 1967, and there has been nothing stopping Nigerian rulers, military and civilian, from returning Nigeria to a regional system of government. But Punch editors already knew this. In conclusion, this example serves to remind us of the importance of fact-checking and the potential dangers of misinformation. Historical events should be reported with accuracy and integrity, as they often hold the key to understanding our present and shaping our future. Misinformation can not only distort our perception of the past, but it can also sow seeds of division and misunderstanding. So remember, always seek the truth and never stop questioning.